Welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is the Week 13 preview. I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
I'm Hefe.
And the three Horsemen are back, all back together. I had some funny nickname about your world travels, and I forgot what it was. But our listeners want to know: are you back for a while?
Yeah, I'll be here probably to the end of the season, I would imagine.
All right. You heard it here first. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an episode or miss your chance at a jersey giveaway. I know you're getting tired of hearing me saying that. So if everybody would just hit the subscribe button, I'll stop saying it. I promise. Probably not, but Anyway, let's get into it quick. All right. So we still have a game left over as we're recording this. The Ravens and the Steelers have yet to play.
They're getting ready to.
Yeah, they're scheduled to play tonight. Actually,
15 minutes, I think.
Yeah, as we're recording this, yeah. And Zach, we figured out that this is not the first Wednesday game. There was a Wednesday game. What did we say, about 2012?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so this is pretty uneventful other than the fact that this is the year of the COVID, and I hope we can get it in and it doesn't screw everything else up. As far as next week, first game on our agenda is the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. I don't mean to be sensationalistic. The Saints are without Drew Brees. They're handling their business, but the Falcons also are handling their business. This is an interdivision game in Atlanta. New Orleans needs us to hang on to the number one spot in the NFC. Can they get it done?
Well, I made the mistake of taking the Falcons 2 weeks ago against the Saints. I'm not going to do it this time. New Orleans is favored by 3.5, so I'm going to take them to cover. But I still feel like Atlanta could pull this out, especially having only played them 2 weeks ago. The element of surprise is gone, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think this is going to look a lot like the first game. I think that the Saints defense is going to be able to do a lot against Falcons offense. I think they're going to get a lot of sacks. Probably not going to be 8 sacks again. That's a lot for one game. But I think they'll be able to get to Matt Ryan and disrupt what he's trying to do. And it won't be like last week. The Falcons aren't going to have it easy like they did last week from an offensive standpoint. So I think the Saints get this one.
Okay, so we're all three going to take the Saints. It still blows my mind that you just said the Falcons aren't going to have it easy like they had last week, which was against the Raiders. There's some games this year and every year that throw me off, but that one, I didn't see that coming at all. Completely blindsided with the Raiders fall off to the Falcons. So we'll see. We'll see if the Falcons, if that win was an anomaly for either team, or if maybe the Falcons are getting it together, or the Raiders are moving backwards for whatever reason, which I don't see that happening, but we'll see. All right, next up, the Lions, the Chicago Bears. Not much to talk about here other than, Zach, we were talking about on the recap show that Kellen, your cousin Kellen, hit me up with some information that the Lions fans are donating to Deshaun Watson's charity, thanking him for getting Matt Patricia fired.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we thought so too. The Bears are at home, interdivision game. They're at Soldier Field. The Bears are better than the Lions, and I don't know if better is the right word. More consistent. That's where we want to go. I don't see the Lions taking this one.
Yeah, the reports are that Kenny Golladay will miss his 5th straight game with a hip injury. That's great news for the Bears. In my opinion, if Detroit was going to have any shot at this game, Golladay would have to play. The Bears are favored by 5 at home. I think they'll cover that spread and snap their 5-game losing streak. Yeah,
echoing the same sentiment. I think defense is going to win the game, especially without Kenny Golladay in the lineup for the Lions. So, as bad as the Bears are, I think they got this game.
Okay, we all three agree with the Bears. Let's move on. Next up is the Bengals at the Dolphins. Any magic that was in Cincinnati left the building with Joe Burrow. They're headed into Miami, and Fitzpatrick was balling out. I think all is right again in Miami. Is Fitzpatrick going to start again this week? Does anyone know? I haven't looked yet.
I don't know. I could look that up.
I'm going to assume that Flores realizes that he was playing with fire, and it's like he he turned it's like he turned the gas on the grill, and it took a while to light, and all of a sudden it almost blew up in his face, and he realized that he probably ought to shut the gas off and do it the right way. Fitzpatrick came in and took care of business. I would think you're in a position to take the AFC East that you may not have thought you were going to be in earlier in the year. We did, but maybe he didn't. And I think he got burned once. I don't know that he does it again. I completely expect Miami to make this look like make this look like they belong in the playoffs, and the Bengals don't.
Yeah, this one should be a no contest. Miami's favored by 11 at home. The question is, will they cover? I believe they will.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a pretty high score to have to cover, but this one really shouldn't be close. Brandon Allen couldn't move the ball for the Bengals. He's not a suitable replacement. So I expect Dolphins defense to kind of dominate this game. Whoever the starter is for the Dolphins, they shouldn't have to do much. They might get Myles Gaskin back also this week. That'll be a huge addition back into that Miami offense. So for sure, Miami wins this one this week.
All right. Well, you guys were talking. I looked it up, and there's optimism that Tua is going to be able to physically start. I have no comment.
I know. Does he even have an injury, or are they just making this up to put?
Apparently, it's an injured thumb.
Yeah, hurt his thumb in practice last week.
I thought it was an injured thumb.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it is. I don't know. We've talked about this before. I think they just need to ride with Fitzpatrick this year. You're doing great things. Next year, switch it to Tua.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly, especially with what I just said, that they tried Tua and it backfired a bit. Not that he's not the future. We talked about how good the kid looked. Obviously, somebody grabbed his number and they took care of business. And Fitzpatrick is just let him lead and let Tua soak up another half of the year and let them establish a winning atmosphere and move into the postseason and get that out of the way. Let those guys, and then they can carry Tua next year. But if you don't make the playoffs, which I think they're still going to make the playoffs, but you take a guy like Tua and he's had all this mentoring under a guy like Fitzpatrick, and they win the division and they go into the playoffs and maybe go to the AFC Championship. I don't know. And then Tua comes in and inherits a program like that. All those guys got so much experience and optimism, and they'll carry him in like that. But if they fall short, I know it can be considered a stepping stone, but their anticipation in the locker room has to be that they can do it right now. And I'm afraid that if they don't, then that disrupts that optimism, and it may mess with next year. But I'm not an NFL head coach, so what do I know? I just do a podcast out of my mom's basement. That's not true. I do a podcast, but not in my mom's basement. All right. Anyway, we're all three taking the Dolphins. They should clearly take care of business. Next up is the Browns at the Titans. I'm not betting against the Titans here. Absolutely not, with what they did with the Colts, which I know the Colts did the same thing to them 2 weeks ago. But the Titans have officially, in my book, they have officially convinced me they belong in the postseason and they can make a run to the Super Bowl. The Browns have not done that for me yet. I'm taking the Titans.
Yeah, I'm not so optimistic about that. One of these two teams will fall to 8-4 and take over the number 3 seed in the AFC playoffs picture. This is projected to be the second highest scoring game of the week with an over-under of 52.5. Tennessee's favored by 4 at home. I do think that they will win the game outright, only because they're at home, but it's Cleveland I have covering that 4-point spread. I think this game will come down to a last-second field goal by Tennessee, but the Colts fan inside of me says, I hope he shanks it.
I think this is going to be a pretty close game too. That's just the way Cleveland plays. They run the ball a lot. They're really good in the way they use that scheme. So they should be able to control the ball. Tennessee's going to run Derrick Henry, control the ball. So it's probably going to be one of the quicker games. I don't think I would take the under that 52.5. I don't think there's going to be enough time for that many points to be scored here. But I do think that the Browns are going to be able to get it done. They get Myles Garrett back this week, and I think he's going to really be able to affect this game. Ryan Tannehill, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've seen if you can get pressure on him, he'll make not interception type mistakes, but he won't make the throws that we know he can make. And I think Myles Garrett in that pass rush can get that done, and more so hoping. And I'm gonna take the Browns here.
Jeff with the dissension, taking the Browns, have you checked to make sure that's not an emotional decision?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one literally all day long. It keeps popping in and out of my head. Who do I pick? Who do I pick? I think the Browns can get it done.
Boy, I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope you're right too. I mean, we're Colts fans. We make no apologies about that. And Zach, while you were gone, Hefe and I were talking about. I mean, it's come up several times that I really struggle with my emotions in when I'm choosing with the Colts in particular, and the Titans have compound that because I like Vrabel, I like Tannehill. What's not like about Henry? I don't know if they're as good as. I don't know. I don't know if they're as good as their record shows. If they are, they aren't. And then they lose to the Colts really bad 2 weeks ago. Then they win. They beat the Colts. So if they win with the Browns, then I will be like, oh, well, I know what I'm talking about. If they lose to the Browns, then I'm going to be like, I have no idea. And I probably should move back into my mom's basement. But I'm curious, Zach, you called this down to a field goal. It's very interesting. How'd you come up with that guess?
Well, I don't think the Titans are as good as their record indicates. They are a good football team, but I don't think that they are that good. I think if Indianapolis had all the starters that were missing last week, it would have been either a close game or it would have ended up like it was a couple weeks ago. So I think the whole blowing out the Colts last week wasn't as big as everybody thinks it is. I think Tennessee is above average, but I don't think they're in that upper tier kind of teams that everybody thinks that they are. Meanwhile, Cleveland, I'm still not on their bandwagon either, but they have been consistent. They are 8-3. So I think they're pretty evenly matched, and so I think it'll come down to a field goal.
Very, very detailed answer. Hefe, do you know what the right answer to that question is?
There ain't no guess. It's what it's going to be.
So I disagree with you. I agree with you and disagree with you. I think if some of the starters were there, in particular DeForest Buckner, it's a different game. I still don't think one of two. I think there were a couple. I think that was one of the factors. I think another factor was, very honestly, that the Titans played out of their goddamn mind. I mean, they had one of those games like the Colts 2 weeks ago. It looked like they just couldn't do anything wrong. But I also think Wright got out coached a little bit. But Hefe and I talked about that on Monday, that coming into the game, Reich wasn't going to make any changes. He wasn't going to make any adjustments. Why would he? Everything they did worked 2 weeks ago. I mean, I'm sure there were adjustments, but you understand what I'm saying, where Vrabel had to go back to the drawing board and be like, something isn't right, and spend a lot more energy into making adjustments for this game. And then so they have the upper advantage, and now Reich's playing catch up, trying to make those adjustments without personnel and that kind of thing. So I think it's a combination of things. I think what it proved to me is these two teams are more equally matched than I wanted to admit they were. And it's like it has been all season. It's going to come down to the wire between these two and be really exciting. And I hope it's really exciting, and the team that I want to advance does advance. But what's really complicated is that because I like Vrabel and Tannehill and King, and I almost call him King Henry. I refuse to call him King Henry, but I almost did. If they do advance and the Colts don't, I'm going to have to root for them on some level because I like what they're doing there. So, all right, we've beaten that one to death. Let's move on to the next one, which is the Colts at the Texans. This one scares me. The Colts. I mean, we just talked about them being on par with the Titans. We believe that they have enough of what it takes to make a strong run in the postseason, if not represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Yet this is an interdivision game in Houston against a very dangerous team that has a lot of weapons, and they've been discombobulated. They're trying to find their way, which they can do that at any moment. And like I told Hefe on Monday, it's very hard to win a fight with someone who has nothing to lose.
Yeah, this is a huge divisional game for Indianapolis this week. A win would push them to 8-4 and remain in the playoffs. A loss, and that makes next week's matchup against Las Vegas that much bigger. Houston has won 3 of the last 4 with only a 3-point loss to Cleveland, so they have momentum. However, Indianapolis was plagued by injuries and COVID last week against the Titans, which we just discussed. This week, tackle Anthony Costanzo will probably still be out with an MCL sprain. Center Ryan Kelly is making good progress on his neck injury and will most likely be a game-time decision. Running back Jonathan Taylor is just considered a high-risk contact with COVID, so there is a possibility he will return for this game. The biggest question marks for the Colts are defensive tackles Danico Autry and possible Defensive Player of the Year DeForest Buckner, both of whom missed last week with being on the COVID list. Reich said that both are making good progress, but did not have much to say in regards to them returning to the field. So this makes me very nervous about this game, and he's only favored by 2.5 heading into Houston. I'm going to stay optimistic, though, and take the Colts outright and on the spread.
So the reason, earlier in the week, this game kind of worried me knowing that it was coming up, especially after a loss. But you have Will Fuller. He's out for the rest of the season. They also had Bradley Roby, I believe it was, their starting corner, out for the rest of the year for the same thing, PEDs. So without those guys there, I like our chances a lot more. Now, right before we started recording this at about right around 3 p.m. on Wednesday, Frank Reich told the media that Jonathan Taylor is activated and will practice today, so he's good to go. Now, Danico Autry has been out 2 games because of this COVID situation, so I'm going to assume that here in the next day or two, he's going to be activated and good to go. He was symptomatic, so it makes sense why it took longer. It's a 10-day or more process rather than 5-day or more process if you have symptoms. And they haven't specified DeForest Buckner whether he was symptomatic or asymptomatic, so he may miss this game. But if I'm right, I believe the timetable for the 10 days for him would be on Saturday, so there is a chance he could play even without DeForest and Danico. Though I don't think their offense, the Texans' offense, is going to be able to do enough. And I think with Jonathan Taylor in there being a real power running back and kind of taking that lead role, we can shift Nyheim Hines back into a change of pace kind of back. It just didn't look right last week, and Nyheim didn't really have a chance to get going because he had to fill every role instead of what he normally does. So I think this one flows better for the Colts, and I think they come out on top.
Oh, damn, I'm going to stop doing the injury reports. Mr. Adam Schefter Jr. over here is just shredding me.
They don't call him the guru for nothing.
I know, right?
That's why everybody needs to be paying attention to the Fantasy Central right there.
That's right.
All right. So we are all 3 taking the Colts in that one. Next up is the Raiders at the Jets. Gruden called me this morning. No, that's not true either. He doesn't have my mom's phone number. Look, man, I believe the Raiders belong in the playoffs. I don't have an excuse. I have no idea what in the hell happened last week against the Falcons. If the Raiders are the team that I think they are, and Chucky is the coach that I think he is, there was a lot of screaming, a lot of ass kicking going on in the week, guys motivating themselves. They're going to roll in and kick the shit out of the Jets on Sunday.
Yeah, they should have no problem with the Jets. They're favored by 7.5. They'll easily cover this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're just going to run it all day long. I think they're going to take this game out of Derek Carr's hands. He had a rough one last week. So I think this is one where Josh Jacobs also might not be there. It's looking better. The reports have gotten better as the week's gone on here. But he's dealing with the sprained ankle. So Devontae Booker may be the lead back, but I don't really think it matters. It's the Jets, right? So the Raiders should definitely win and should definitely cover.
Okay, we're all 3 in agreement there. We're all 3 taking the Raiders. Next up is, this game excites me, is the Jaguars at the Vikings. It excites me because I believe I can confidently choose the Vikings this week and not even think about the game the rest of the week and be okay, and they'll take care of me. Vikings win.
Yeah, Minnesota's favored by 9.5 at home against the Jags. I'm going to take the Vikings outright. However, I do like Jacksonville to keep it within 9.5.
Yeah, I do too. I would definitely be betting on the Jaguars this week if Florida allowed online betting, but they don't. So I think the Vikings do win this game, but I think Mike Glennon and James Robinson and them boys are able to keep it close enough that you can win some money if you're betting on the Jags.
Okay, but in the end, we're all three taking the Vikings in the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em contest. Okay, so next up is Rams at Cardinals. I don't have any idea. I'm going to go with the home team because I don't have any idea. These teams, I love them and hate them simultaneously. What's going on in this division? The Rams, in my opinion, the Rams should take care of business coming here. But based off what they did last week, I really don't know. I can't say I'm going to take the Cardinals. I don't know. I don't know. Quit pressuring.
Yeah, it's a toss-up game. But as Hefe alluded to in our fantasy show this week, Jalen Ramsey has been locking down defenders. D-Hop has struggled the last couple of weeks. Kyler Murray as well. So I think the Rams will squeak this one out. They're only favored by 1.5 for good reason. I'm going to take them by a field goal.
This one I don't think this one's as complicated as it would have been maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think like Zach said, Jalen Ramsey should do a pretty good job of locking down DeAndre Hopkins. Now DeAndre is going to get a couple catches. He's one of the best receivers in the world. He'll do his thing, but for the most part, it should be a pretty quiet game for DeAndre and Kyler. He just hasn't been good over the last couple weeks, and there was a couple weeks earlier in the season where it wasn't very good, and it's been inconsistent. The offense is inconsistent. They haven't been able to get a whole lot of run game going with Kenyon Drake this year, and so I don't think that offensively they have enough tools in the toolbox right now to get it going against the Rams. So I'm going to have to go with the Rams this weekend.
All right. Well, I don't know yet. I got to think about this one, but Los Angeles lost to the 49ers at home. I know these teams have a lot of parity, but it just freaks me out a little bit. But we'll see. So you two are taking the Rams. I still don't know. Next up, Giants at the Seahawks. Yeah, I'm going to have to take Seattle.
Yep, they're favored by 9.5 at home. They'll cover.
Yeah, I think so too. Colt McCoy being in there instead of Danny. If Danny Dimes was playing, I thought this was actually going to be a pretty decent game, but with Colt McCoy in there instead, the Seahawks should be able to run away with this one.
Yeah, and improved 8-4, and defend their lead in the NFC West. All right, next up is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Green Bay Packers. Same thing here, just another NFC East team wasting fuel money to just go get the brains bashed in. There shouldn't be any problems here.
Yeah, the Eagles are heading the wrong way, and a matchup against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field, no bueno. Green Bay's favored by 9. They'll cover.
Yeah, I think they will too. I don't think this is going to be very close. Maybe a garbage time touchdown screws people out of some money at the end of the game, like it did on Monday night when they went for that 2-point conversion. That one upset a lot of bettors.
Did you see a dude bet $500,000 on that and lost because of the 2-point conversion and the Hail Mary? That's insane.
Yikes!
I saw something about that. Yeah, so I think this one's going to be, a lot of the same. I think the Packers are going to be able to dominate this one, probably run a lot in the second half. And then the real question is, why is it taking so long for Doug Pederson to be out? Like, I understand he won a Super Bowl, what was that, 3 years ago? But ever since Frank Reich left, it's all been downhill, and they've had a lot of draft picks. They've brought people in free agency. How does Doug Pederson still have a job?
It's a very solid question.
Yeah. For the same reason Adam Gase still has a job. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, the Eagles had a lot of injuries at the beginning of the season, right? But they're still, I don't know.
They seem to have gotten everybody back from injury, and they got worse. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have I was going to try to bullshit my way through it. I don't have a good reason. There is none. I don't expect them to be there next year, but I don't know what they're waiting on. We talked about this before with some of these other guys. I think it was back when Quinn got fired, and talking about Gase. I don't know what Pederson. If the guys like him, and there's just something tactically wrong in the system, that's one thing. But that, you got to be careful because he can taint the locker room with negativity and just keep digging a hole that the next coach has got to dig himself out of. But I don't know the situation in there. Pederson, I guess he's kind of flown under our radar with the coaches we talked about because it wasn't so glaringly obvious. Maybe we should dig into this a little more, and as the weeks go on, talk about it a little more and see what's happening there. Because I don't know. I don't pay attention. The NFC East, it stinks. Burns my eyes and hurts my feelings.
Like burnt Indian food.
Exactly. No one wants to pay attention to that. NFC East fans don't want to pay attention to that. But that's a good question. Let's figure it out as we go on. All right, next up, Patriots are heading into Los Angeles to play the Chargers. It's probably a damn good thing the Raiders have the Jets because the Patriots are probably going to win this one. And I don't know in dominant fashion if that's necessarily the case, but I expect the Patriots to win this and put them at 6-6, and they are right outside the door of the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get in, but if they do, it's going to make Chris Collinsworth look like a genius. So I'm really hoping they don't get in.
Yeah, just when you thought that the Patriots were crashing and burning, they come out of nowhere and beat the Cardinals for their third win in 4 games. Meanwhile, Los Angeles has lost 4 of their last 5 with their lone win against the New York Jets. The Chargers are actually favored by a point at home, but I'm taking New England.
Yeah, everything really points to taking New England would be the common sense thing, but the reports that I've seen so far this week have said that Joey Bosa is looking better. It's not guaranteed that he's going to play this weekend, but I think he makes a huge difference for that defense and for what that pass rush is able to do, especially because Melvin Ingram's been in and out of the lineup all year, and he's been dealing with some stuff. So having Joey Bosa there will really be a game changer. They got Austin Eckler back last week, who had a huge game for them. He's going to be a big part of the offense. And this Chargers team has been so good and has lost so many close games. And I think at some point they're going to get another one, and I think this is the one.
Wow. Okay.
Didn't even see that coming.
Yeah, honestly, part of that's predicated on the fact that Cam, like as an actual passing quarterback, has been pretty dog this year. So if they get down in this game, which I expect to happen, then Cam having to come back, I don't trust it.
Yeah, see, and I get all that, but in my opinion, all that's a wash with Anthony Lynn and the bad coaching and what appears to me to be bad coaching in Los Angeles. The fact that they're struggling so much, like we just talked about, all that's a wash. And then the one thing that stands out is a son of a bitch that's won 6 Super Bowls. I can't bet against him. I just don't. He's won 3 in a row, and I bet against him early in the year. We've talked about it. We didn't expect him to do much. I still don't expect him to do much, but I expect him to win Sunday. That's where I'm at.
I have to agree. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make great points, Fa, and you very well could be right. I can't bet against Belichick. It's too much for me. Which is probably the exact same emotion that would have you bet against him. That he scares me and he pisses you off.
Got something like that.
Yeah. All right, so Hefe's taking the Chargers. Zach and I are taking the Patriots. Next game up, Broncos at Chiefs. I got a feeling. I still think Pittsburgh can run the table, but there's something in me that's switching that I think these Chiefs may end up repeating. It's just, I got this feeling they're just going to get better and better, and that they finally hit their stride, and it's going to get real ugly for a couple teams here on out all the way to February.
Yeah, they're favored by 13.5 in this game. Take the spread.
I don't know. I think, if it stays that high, the score stays that high, I think I'm taking the Broncos if I'm betting. I'm definitely taking the Chiefs to win this game. I don't think that's really a question. But the Broncos get the quarterbacks back. They have a decent defense. Obviously, it's not enough to stop Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Travis Kelce and all them boys. But will they win by 2 scores? I don't know if it'll be that big.
You think so?
Yeah,
I
man.
do.
Good defense will keep you in games. It won't win you a whole lot of games, but it'll give you a chance. So I think it'll be, it might still be a 2-score game, but I don't think it'll be 13, maybe, 8-10, but I don't see him winning by 13 or 14.
Fair enough. But we all three agree the Chiefs are going to win this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, the Washington football team at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, this is the kind of game where we talk a bunch of trash about the Steelers going 16-0, and somehow Washington sneaks in and wins this one. I don't see it happening, but I wouldn't be. I'll just laugh when we come back on Monday if that's the case. But the Steelers should move to 11-0 and move one game closer to running the table.
Yeah, Washington defense is pretty good, but their offense is horrible. I don't see them being able to move the ball on the Steelers defense, so Pittsburgh is going to take it.
Yeah, and I initially thought maybe this is upset of the week type stuff, but when I thought about it some more, the strength of the Washington defense is their pass rush, but the Steelers have one of, if not the best offensive line in the league this year, so it kind of offsets, a bunch of studs on both sides. So when it comes down to it, I think there's just more to offer from the Steelers. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pick the Steelers this weekend.
Attaboy. All right, we all three agree. We are all three taking the Steelers. Next game is the Buffalo Bills at the San Francisco 49ers. Bills traveling all the way across the country for a Monday night game. I don't know. The Bills, as far as the ESPN pick'em goes, almost 77% of the participants have picked the Buffalo Bills. I don't feel that confident about it. I might take the Bills just because they've got a better record. I think they're explosive. But we've talked about how good the 49ers are better than their record shows. San Francisco could come away with this.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This should be a really good game, and it's a very important one for Buffalo. They're currently 1 game ahead of Miami in the AFC East, so they really need to win this one to keep that distance. They are favored by 3. And because it's only 3, I think that they'll win. I think that they'll cover. But it should be a good game, like I said.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real good game. But I think, I'm somebody that has supported Josh Allen and tried to talk the Bills up a lot. And we're 11 games into this season, right? This is going to be week 13. And what I've seen is that the Bills just can't consistently stop the run. And that is what Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers do very, very well. And so I think that it's going to be a lot of time of possession for the 49ers in this game. I think they're going to run it right down their throats. Josh Allen should be able to move the ball too. But with Richard Sherman back in that 49ers defense, it makes me a little more nervous with anybody that's playing the 49ers and how they'll be able to move the ball. Team that this 49ers team has been able to get a little healthy, and I think that's going to be really dangerous for some of these playoff teams down the stretch. I have the 49ers winning this week.
All right, I'm picking the Bills, but it's not with confidence. I mean, this will go either way. And Zach, this isn't only an important game for the Buffalo Bills. This is an important game for the San Francisco 49ers. They are in that division that may send 3 teams to the playoffs, and they are not out of this yet. They very well could climb their way back in, and a win here would put them at 6-6 and put them right in the hunt. And then for the Bills, again, it would knock them down and put Miami one step closer to winning that division. So this has big playoff implications that will ripple to both sides of the league. It's a big game. Yeah, good. So okay, I'm taking the Bills. Zach, you said you were taking the Bills, and Hefe, you're taking the 49ers, right?
That's right.
All right. Last game will be the Cowboys at the Ravens. We're still waiting on to see what's going to happen with the Ravens. This whole organization appears to me, I don't like the Ravens. All right. When I was 14 and the Colts moved to Indianapolis, and I was privy to that information coming. I didn't know they were coming before him, but My stepdad worked on the Dome. He used to take me down when they started construction, and he talked about the Colts. And I remember the day they were coming to town. He put the news. We were having breakfast. Put the newspaper in front of me that the Colts had moved there. Been a fan ever since. We went to Disney World, and a bunch of people from Baltimore accosted me for wearing an Indianapolis Colts T-shirt. So people from Baltimore have pissed me off ever since about this whole football thing, because then they turn around and they rob Cleveland of their football team. I'm not a Ravens fan, but I like good teams. I like good coaching. I have respected what they were doing all year. I expected them to be one of the top AFC contenders. I'm getting to a point. This team feels like shit is coming apart at the seams. Like your car just turned 200,000 miles and all of a sudden everything starts breaking at once and you can't keep up with it. This appears to be a sinking ship to me, and I don't know that they can get this righted. Now, I think they'll beat the Cowboys, but I think they'll beat the Cowboys. I honestly, at this point, I don't know. Thank God it's in Baltimore. My confidence in what the Ravens are capable of doing is waning every week.
Yeah, I have to feel the same way. We had such high hopes for them, especially at the beginning of the year, that even people were saying that they were going to run the table and be undefeated. So
I said that.
Yeah,
I said that 6 months ago.
Well, I was going to not try to make you look that bad, but
but yes, I can man up with that.
So they're sitting at 6-4. They have this game that's started now, I would assume. I'm not watching, obviously, because we're on here. But, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. You don't know what's going to happen with them, especially with 99.9% of their team being out with COVID right now. But if they can at least get half their players back, they should have no problem with Dallas. As far as moving forward with the Ravens, I just don't know. I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think the Ravens, with the schedule they have left and what we've seen from them, I think they're in real danger of missing the playoffs. I do think that they can beat the Cowboys. It comes down to the defense. They're going to have the guys they need on defense by the time they play the Cowboys next Tuesday. And so I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of fireworks in that game. Probably going to be a fairly low-scoring affair, but I do think the Ravens should win that game.
Okay, we're all three taking the Ravens, and did we just picked against all NFC East teams, rightfully so. What a disaster! I mean, let's enjoy it, shall we? We're making history, guys.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Anything you guys want to throw in to wrap up the week?
Yeah, I just want to say, as Colts fans, we're dealing with somebody in the Colts organization that's dealing with cancer. Rigoberto Sanchez, Colts punter, who's took over for Pat McAfee and has done an outstanding job over the last 4 years. And they found a cancerous tumor. He had surgery on that on Tuesday. That surgery went well. So we hope he gets well off the field, and we hope that someday he can come back and be on the field for the horseshoe.
Yeah, great point. He's too young to be dealing with that kind of stuff. It's bad enough when we talk about, Chuck Pagano a few years ago. We talk about Ron Rivera this year. Those are guys that have lived. They've lived a while, and for a guy that age to be dealing with that, I just hope it's not something serious. I hope they got it taken care of, and we wish him a speedy and full recovery.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That does it for this week. We want to remind you to please be sure to show us some love, like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. Every little bit counts. Just when you think, oh, that's interesting, and you move on to something else, you might have shared it with somebody else who might care, and they might share it with somebody else, and they might share it with somebody else, and then you'd be doing us a good favor. And it is the holidays, so please keep us in mind and tell all your friends. Help us get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers and have a chance of winning an authentic NFL jersey from the NFL shop on us. If you're watching us, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss the episode. And the bell icon is important because you'll get updates when we drop a new episode. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, head on over to YouTube to help us out. We certainly appreciate it. It's not too late to go head-to-head against us in the weekly pick-and battle. And you can hop on. It's free. So just hop on to our Facebook and Twitter page at Horsemen Sports, and you'll find the link to join for free. For all the fantasy fanatics, I mentioned earlier, Fantasy Central, we got people who are living and dying by the Fantasy Central episodes, because these guys know what they're talking about. We wanted to make sure it was so quality that since I don't play fantasy football anymore and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, they won't let me join in. So they wanted to make sure that it was good information coming out, that I just wasn't making up a bunch of shit that was going to screw up your rosters. So trust these guys. They know what they're talking about. If you haven't checked it out, check out the latest episode of Fantasy Central and let these guys help you adjust your roster. It was released just last night. So they will cover the top waiver wire picks, must starts, and the players to avoid this coming week to help you win in your league. And of course, we will see you back here again on Tuesday, where we will review the games from the weekend and run down the ever-changing playoff picture and who's in and who's out. Until then, thank you again for joining us, and enjoy the games.